everyone, welcome back to the Get Admitted MD YouTube channel, where I will teach you how to succeed as a pre-med and get accepted to the medical school of your dreams. My name is David Janicek, founder of Get Admitted MD. If you haven't checked out my previous video about what it means to be a pre-med, be sure to click the link in the description to check that out. In this video, I'm going to set forth a generic 4-year pre-med plan that you can use to think about how to structure your 4 short years of being a pre-med to maximize your chances of getting accepted into medical school. So I know what you may be thinking to yourself. What about the students who don't know they want to pursue medical school when they first enter college? And my response to that is that it's just fine if you don't know what you want to do when you first start college. This timeline is honestly just a guideline for those students who do have an inclination that they want to become a physician early on so that they know what to do. If you decide on medicine a little later as an undergrad, you can still get accepted. You just have to adjust this timeline to make it work. In a future video, I will zoom in on the application timeline itself so that you know how to be best prepared for the application when that time comes. Before we go any further, be sure to smash that like button, and while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to this channel so that you can stay up to date with all the videos that I will be posting. Let's dive right into the first year. For the rest of the video, I'm going to identify 2 goals for each year and 2 action items that you should try to complete during that year. Okay, so the first goal of your first year is to adjust to and settle into the college environment. In the first year of being a pre-med, this is one of the most important things you can do. For many students, going to college is the first time in their life that they have to move away from their home, and with that goes many of the support systems immediately available that they once had. The college environment also poses new challenges in time management, and often new study strategies have to be developed in order to succeed as a pre-med. This also means that you should avoid getting involved in too many activities the first year that could distract you from your studies. The second goal of the first year is to start to think about what activities that you want to start engaging in to build your application for medical school. One trap that many students fall into is that they get involved in multiple activities the first year of being a pre-med, leading to worse grades in the early pre-med courses. Although you may think that you could just make it up later by doing better in the later pre-med courses, as well as your major courses, as you gain more credits throughout your journey as a pre-med, it will be harder and harder to make large changes in your GPA at that point. If you want to make the most impact on your GPA, do it early when you don't have as many credits, and this will help you achieve a higher GPA overall. Keeping these 2 goals in mind, here are 2 actions that you should think about completing during your first year as a pre-med. Develop a schedule for which you can learn to manage your time effectively given the many demands that will be placed on you as a pre-med. This will come in handy later on in your pre-med years when you will be trying to balance many different activities. Number 2, create a list of 3 to 4 activities that you really want to engage in prior to applying to medical school. Whether this is volunteering, research, leadership, shadowing, or others, this is the time to figure out which of these activities you want to focus on. All right, let's move into year 2. The first goal of this year is to start to build your resume in preparation for your medical school application. If you took your first year to set a solid foundation in your pre-med coursework, then this is the time to start building your application through various activities. For some, this means starting to volunteer in a hospital or in a non-hospital setting, while for others it may mean getting involved in research or another activity. Stay tuned for a future video on which activities make good additions to your application. This is an important time to start making connections that will help your application later on. For instance, if you start on a research project towards the beginning of your second year, this will give you plenty of time to get to know your research mentors so that they can write a great letter of recommendation for when it comes time to do so. The second goal of the second year is to succeed in your pre-med coursework. At this point, you are likely progressing from the more general chemistry course series into the more challenging organic chemistry courses, where many pre-med students start to feel the pressure of the pre-med curriculum. Not only is organic chemistry a more difficult subject matter to learn, but the class size typically starts to dwindle a bit at this point, leading to more high caliber students still present, which affects the curve. So here are 2 action items to focus on during your second year of being a pre-med. Number 1, get involved in 2 to 3 activities that interest you. By starting slow with just a few activities, you can gauge how it will affect your studying and work-life balance. Perhaps start with 2 to 3 during the first semester of that year, and then look to add 2 to 3 more in the second half of your second year. Number 2, continue to focus on doing well in your pre-med courses. Even if you started your pre-med journey off to a great start in your first year, you'll need to continue that momentum in your second year. If you weren't as successful in your first year, maybe talk to someone and figure out what wasn't going so well and make the changes to help make you successful going forward. Moving on to year 3. The first goal of this year is to continue to build your resume for your medical school application. Hopefully by this point you have started to engage in a few activities that you can use on your medical school application. Whether this is volunteering, research, or shadowing, keep working on those activities to show that you are dedicated to the pursuit of medicine. The classical teaching was to fill up the entirety of the 15 allowed activities on your application, but this is no longer the case. The goal is to focus on fewer activities, but make sure they are really quality ones that you can talk about on your application and during the interview process. The second goal this year is to plan out your medical school application. There are many things that you need to take care of in order to successfully complete the application process. From planning on when you will take the MCAT exam, and therefore planning out your study process for this test, to planning out how you will work on your personal statement and the other components of the application, this can be a daunting task. It can take several months to work on your personal statement alone and get it to the point that you feel comfortable submitting it. In a future video, I will discuss the application timeline in more detail and talk about how you might think about working on these various tasks. The action items for the third year are pretty straightforward when you put them in the context of the goals I just outlined. First, you should strive to focus on getting the most out of your activities. What I mean by this is you should focus on not only participating in various activities, but you should also know why you were involved in those activities. This will help you later on when you are asked about these activities in an interview, and you can talk very fluently about them. The second action item is really focused on the application itself and making sure you set forth time to work on all the components required, including the personal statement, the work activity section, and others. With adequate planning, these tasks become much more manageable and less daunting. Now on to year 4. You have done all the work up to this point, so it's important to not let off the gas pedal and keep working hard till the end. In the fall of your 4th year, the main goal will be to complete the last remaining components of the application, which usually means the secondary essays, and hopefully get to interview at multiple medical schools during this time. Depending on the number of schools that you apply to, completing these secondary essays can be a monumentous task. However, you can often work on these ahead of time to make the process more manageable. The second goal of year 4 is to enjoy your time before graduation. Once you've gotten through the application process and hopefully have gotten accepted to at least one medical school, then you should try to enjoy your time before graduation and before starting medical school in the fall. This may be one of the last times that you have less responsibilities and can actually enjoy the time. If this means traveling to that destination that you have always wanted to go, or just spending time with family, this is a great time to do those things. You will have some time to do these things in medical school, but it will be certainly less time than you do before you start. Once again, these action items are fairly straightforward when you think about the goals of the year. The main thing you need to do is to finish your application if you haven't done it during the summer between your 3rd and 4th years, and then interview at medical schools. As the year progresses, you hope to have multiple interviews and then multiple acceptances, which you can choose from where you want to go to medical school at. In a future video, I will spend a lot of time going over the application timeline itself, where I will explain important dates that you should keep in mind to make sure that you stay on top of your medical school application. In the meantime, check out my Instagram where I have lots of great tips for being a pre-med, or you can always sign up for my online course where I will explain the medical school admissions process in great detail. A link to the online course will be in the description of this video. See everyone next week.